Well, let's go live then to Washington, D.C., to the Capitol, speak to Fraser Jackson, our correspondent there. Fraser, it's just gone 9 a.m. where you are, pretty early on in the day. Give us a sense of how the next few hours are going to look and where polls are open so far as well.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? After such a long build-up, Election Day is finally here. Of course, over 75 million Americans have already voted in this election, but this is Election Day. Well, we had the first official votes of Election Day at midnight at the small town in New Hampshire, which has become famous for this particular tradition. Now, in that small town of just 6 voters, there were no registered Democrats. There were 3 registered Republicans and 3 independents, and it ended up being a 3-all tie between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. So, of course, quite a small sample size, but if you extend that out across the rest of the country, it could be good news if you're Kamala Harris and bad news if you're Donald Trump. But there are many more Americans now getting to have their say. Most polls open at 7 a.m. local time, so there are still a few states which are still waiting for their polls to open, notably on the West Coast, California and the like. Of course, no real surprises or guesses which way that is going to go, or Oregon or indeed Washington, that whole blue wall on the left-hand side of the country. But the rest of the country is also still voting now. So we're going to be watching closely to see what turnout looks like at the moment, because people are going to be heading to the polls. There's obviously been quite a lot of discussion about the wait time that people are going to be having at those polling stations. There's been some advice put forward by the ACLU, which is a legal union here in the United States, who says that people should head to the polls and stay there for as long as they can, and whether their polls are closed at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. If they are in line, they have the right to vote. So people will be doing that today and trying to make their voices heard.
And Fraser, this evening, when polls do close, give us a sense of which particular states we should have our eyes on and what clues they might offer us for the hours to come.
Well, of course, the real place that this election is going to be won or lost is going to be in those 7 battleground states that both candidates have been spending so much of their time in over the course of the last couple of months. So we're thinking Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania in the north, and then in the south we're looking at Georgia, North Carolina, as well as Arizona as well. So it's going to be, and in Nevada, of course, it's going to be interesting to see the results that come out of those places first and foremost, because that really is going to dictate where this election goes, particularly in those northern states, because realistically whoever wins Pennsylvania is arguably going to win this election. That's what most people are going to be looking out for. It should be worth noting that the campaigns are not really expecting full results from Pennsylvania this evening, but they are expecting some results relatively early on from places like Michigan and Wisconsin. Full results from Pennsylvania should come later on. But it's also going to be interesting as well to keep an eye on some places like Virginia and New Hampshire, which are Democratic strongholds, but the Trump campaign believes that they've been making some inroads in those states as well. So if we look at the numbers from New Hampshire from 2020 and Virginia as well, and compare them to what we're seeing coming out of those 2 states within the next few hours, that could also be a telltale sign of which way this night is going to go. So lots to keep our eyes on over the course of the next few hours. But of course, it could be some time until we get the actual official result. Last time it took 4 days until we knew who the winner was. But there is a strong belief in the country this time that it's going to be less time than it was last time.
Fraser Jackson for us in Washington, D.C. for the moment. Thanks very much. But I suspect we will be speaking again to Fraser as we keep an eye on this historic election in the United States.